recording.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or good whatever time zone you are. This is Opus Magnum. It's Opus Magnum 2025 tournaments week 6, bulk transmutation, where you have to turn this input into this output, and using the glyph of unification and Van Berle's wheel. The metrics were tracks plus instructions, but area has to finite, rate has to finite, and cycles, but budget has to, but you also must cost less than 1,000.
Wonder what everybody felt about that metric. Did everybody like it, or did everybody feel like it was too restricting? I'd rather have just straight up cycles.
I definitely would not rather have had straight up cycles. A lower budget would have been interesting in a different way. I think this budget was pretty intimidating to think about. Like, well, I'm sitting here looking at a blank canvas. I can place literally 1,000 G of parts. How do you think I can do this? Vilfuck claiming, yeah, the budget was way too high. Witchpush saying cycles would have been hell. Straight cycles would have sucked hard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about rate, though? Also sounds like hell.
I mean, rate kind of forces you to solve the same problems that TI solves. So it's one puzzle, but as it is, it's kind of two puzzles.
The rate is like a 1 point something.
Fast rate is allowed.
Mm-hmm. It's like
the rate. So it was pointed out that rate needed like 3 glyphs of unification minimum. So I said no to that really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Kazan says 1,000 disappears really quickly when you're unloading unification.
Yep. I mean, I built 2 solves. The first one really undershot the budget. The second one hit it pretty darn close. So I think I did all right with Buckles, but it took a bit of iterating to even figure out what 1,000 looks like. But we get there
second. People have said that it's kind of a Pareo crawl if you really want to get into the thick of it.
Yeah, this is just Suffolk Mercury. It's just sucky Suffolk Mercury.
It's Suffolk Mercury, but it's harder.
All right. I will start at 31st place in the TI metric. No longer breathed in. The previously suggested metric on this one was, instead of the budget cycles, it was cycles plus area, but...
Ooh, cycles plus area. That's the evil or sum.
Yep.
The problem with that was that in the break week, there was an input that looked way too much like this one.
Yeah, you're right.
And people made some solves for that, and it's not much different to C plus A.
Participation dropping off, says RMCG. There's like also
there's like restrictions on both
restrictions,
metrics, so,
yeah. And the fact that it's week 6.
Yep.
I think my own tournament week 6 had like 17 participants, so we're still pretty great in terms of this. Oh, we have a 2 pipeline solve here. Yep. I getcha.
The fast pipeline and the slow pipeline. Even though they're not really that much different.
So what I'm seeing happening is you take 1 input per tape loop, which means you have to make 1.75 quint per tape loop. 1.75 quint per tape loop is quite a lot of quint per tape loop.
What we immediately see, jumping through hoops to get even numbers of atoms. Yes, 7 and 4 don't work. 7 and 4 and 6 don't work together very nicely, but that's the numbers you have to work with in this puzzle.
There's a factor
7
of 7
for the input.
Factor of 4 in the quintessence glyph, and factor of 6 in the parallel. 6 is natural. 4 and 7 is not in the Opus Magnum universe.
Yeah.
Money by Pink Floyd starts playing in the background in 7/4 time.
The homies all hate Burlow. Right, it's a Burlow week. Everybody loved Burlow from week 1, right? What if we had more?
All right. Note simply says solution edited in Emacs to change title. All right.
She did point out last week that, she has used an external editor, but it's only Emacs and it only modifies the title.
Next up, Michira. By first instruction.
Right.
7 and 8. 4.
Lots of tracks.
Well, those are tracks.
And
There's
8.
total of 39 hexes of track. It seems. The metric says. The note says.
All right.
there's- Yeah.
Yeah.
It has
This
a
is
buddy
a
Burlow.
4-sided Burlow.
Oh, that's a 4-sided Burlow.
Who needs Burlow when you can make Burlow at home?
And it's counting to 4 based on... Oh, no, it's not counting to 4 necessarily. It's just loading unification. And then tracks are counting
It's counting
to 4.
to 4 with ARM 12.
And ARM 11. And kind of ARM 15.
Yeah. ARM 15 is to skip these 2 salts. We don't need them. ARM.
So it uses ARM, is that 5, I think? Yeah, to grab the input every 7 tape loops, which does mean that it operates
ARM
on
3,
1
yeah.
atom per tape loop.
I could hear Biggie leaning closer to see the number on the arms.
I am called out.
All right. Next up. 29th place. Jemu. T.I. She simply writes, I hate your Critelli, prediction 35th, question mark.
You're lucky there isn't a 35th.
Hey, we are fully trackless.
Mhm.
Oh, but we're
Excellent.
still grabbing 1 input per tape loop. That's 2 unifications required.
We love hex arms.
This is
Oh, we're not
two
necessarily...
atoms,
Okay,
two
this is...
atom per loop pipeline, and then
This is waste reclamation input handling. I getcha. And then it has a conditional to be able to determine that it is only down to centers because ARM5 no longer helped.
okay, ARM 2 and 3 ensures that there's only 4 copies of the input in circulation at any time, so you don't have to care about the ratio on the auto now pipeline.
Got it. So the odd one out pipeline just grabs once there are 4 atoms. This is my time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's only 4 cores at a time as well. It doesn't fill the whole hex arm because of the other arms.
Yeah, there are 2 different helper arms giving you 4. It has to load 2 unification glyphs though, and that is so spicy for instructions. Also, there's a geometry helper arm for outputting from the other unification. That's really tragic.
ARM 20.
Yeah.
It seems. Yeah.
Yeah, ARM 20.
I feel like when I was
ARM 20
looking
is a
when I was looking
geometry
at this
arm.
puzzle, it's I want arms that do multiple things where the things are either speed limiting or ratio helping. And I do not want arms that do 0 things, where transport is 0 things. So I really, really look at ARM 20 with sadness. If you're trying to optimize, ARM 20 is the first to go, in my opinion.
All right. Next up, 28th place. Nathan F.
Jem also says she made this last night at like 11, so she didn't bother to fix anything. And I guess, yeah, when the gap's 16 Ti between people, that 3 wouldn't have really changed it.
Mhm. You know, one thing I'm seeing this week a lot more compared to past years of TI is T plus I is that there's people are actually using track.
How unfortunate. That costs metric points.
And spoiler warning, they're gonna continue using track.
I like the counting to 4 using build a stick of length 4.
Yeah, that's one. Some people have been asking, how do I count to 4 without tracks? You build a
Yeah.
stick that's length 4.
You sure can do that.
So this
We
is
will
taking
see other stick building, but 4 is one of the numbers you can build a stick to.
this is taking 1 atom per loop.
I'm curious what happens when it gets down to single atoms in the hex arm. It just works. It just works. Hell
Arm
yeah.
4.
I like the
Arm 4 is the
yeah.
takes care
Yeah,
of
the
single
track
atom.
arm is the one handling it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, Vilfuck is building sticks of lengths question mark.
I mean, there's several numbers you can build sticks of. And one number is a very nice number to build sticks or bricks of.
Arm 7 seems to be a geometry helper arm that I that's the one that sticks out to me, and this is like this one just does geometry.
This
It's
one.
not touching glyphs, it's just putting atoms in other arms.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I'm really high I have high scrutiny for every single arm in a TI solve, which is kind of why I do well in the metric. Is like I look at this and I'm like, oh, let's try to do it without that arm and that arm and that arm and that arm.
All right, at 27th place, Fuyu. This is quite small. There's a 7-track, or there's a 7-track here already.
Oh, 7 tracks.
We're only saving 3 TI, but it's 10 instructions at the cost of 7 tracks.
And it's dealing with the factor of 4 by turning it into factor of 2.
It's getting 1 input every tape loop, or 1 atom every tape loop. So it does have to have a fast enough unification loader that it can operate every 4. No, it's doing 2 whole things per tape loop. Oh, that's wild.
That's why it takes so much instructions.
Arms 4 and 5 are basically, they have a repeat instruction on them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because the Burlo should only operate per 2 atoms, but it's operating on 1 per tape loop.
All right.
But yeah, this over here is what I would call the peeling method, which we'll see the peeling method, which we'll see a lot.
Yeah, peeling definitely came to mind.
Though more specifically, it's peel 1 at a time method.
Mm-hmm. This is the pretend there's a conduit in the puzzle method.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, guilty bystander. Another 7-track immediately.
2601 cycles. This is the slowest one so far.
It's a Pac-Man track. Look at it. Maybe that's why it's slow.
Oh, this
That is a
arm
Oh,
one.
because it takes 42 tape loops to get an input.
6x7.
42. I like the number 42. Just saying. So
Yeah,
thank you,
no
guilty
bias
bystander.
at all.
Thank you, guilty bystander, for showing 42 a home. Also, 142p is very slow, so it does not surprise me that this is the cycle count. It also will take quite a
Is it
while.
142p though? They
ARM
could
1
speed
doesn't
this up.
return until 140 or until 42 tape loops.
Yeah, but it doesn't make a
Like-
single product out of those 42 tape loops.
I mean,
got it.
I
It
mean,
makes
sure, but
1.75 products out of those tape loops.
Yeah,
So
it's a 142 ARM, but it doesn't make a one whole product out of it.
yeah, it's a 142 input, but it's a 1 in quick
Genius,
maths as I kind of segfault in here. 28 output. No.
Genius 42, there's
24.
exactly 40 some meters total, but I have skipped a few people who will score better on the cycles metric.
20.
Yeah.
This one's technically 1/24th P by being
That sounds like such a clean number for this chaos.
7/4 of an output per 42 tape loops, which is on average 1 output per 24 tape loops.
It sounds so clean for such a cursed numbers to add, multiply together.
Right, next up, 25th place. Crazy about 27.
I don't think there's initial waste for this. Oh wait, no, there is 2 initial waste for this all. For some reason, it's just sitting there.
Well, the initial waste, it has to be like parked there because this 2 atom doesn't clean itself when there's nothing here.
I see.
That's a good reason, though, to have an arm which only grabs and never drops, which is the pretty cool thing.
Yeah, all it does is graph extend.
Which is ARM 4, and its instructions are at the far right of the screen. Pretty spinny things. Ooh, I like ARM 8's.
I like the implications of these equilibriums.
Crazy about 27 writes, trackless instructions is fun. This felt so damn cool to make. The cleverest thing this soap does is suppress the input with a hexon, so no new inputs are grabbed until the inputs already grabbed are used up. Sneaky barrel rotations allow duping every element except water, which is done in a separate pipeline. This soap was 67i initially. I realized that I could save 1 instruction and decided that after I'd be done, so imagine my surprise when I worked on it and actually managed to save 7. But now Hexon is reading this, which means I'm done for real.
I really like having 8 inputs in circulation, which then solves the factor of 4 problem.
Yeah. And the 2 waters don't need for it though, you just dupe it from the center.
Yeah, this answers someone's question from chat earlier.
Oh yeah, right.
I think it was Fiesta who asked, I wonder how many people will keep the water atoms and not calcify it.
Yeah.
Right. Pilfa
This
points
solve
out
is what I would
that
call a
there has been a
multi-peeling solve.
primary time.
I see.
Nice.
Between this and Guilty Bystander soap.
But this is faster because Guilty Bystanders was 1/24p, and this one is 1/4p, it looks like. No, this is 1/3p. This is close enough to 1/3p.
Yeah, except the setup takes a while. I need to like redo the setup every time it runs out of atoms.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Alright, next up, 24th place. 1 point better, Coco 52. New solution 60.
This is why we don't have the T calculator in the corner like we do sometimes. It's not gonna help much.
Alright, we're 1/6p on grabbing inputs, it seems.
What is this fucking minefield of glyphs?
Okay, this is
What am I looking
1/6p, and it's rebuilding an input so that it can simply not care about waste. It throws it back on the fucking input. I love that.
Amazing.
I love that. Oh, and it does have a duplication
there's
minefield so that it.
There's this huge delay, huge circuit that induces delay.
So
This
this
is
one's
amazing.
making the task of, okay, we are not trying to build quintessence with our odd one out pipeline. We are trying to build inputs with our odd one out pipeline. That's perfect. I love this. Thank you,
This is
Cuckoo52.
pretty
You're
cool, yeah.
amazing.
Cuckoo names his new solutions anything he wants.
There's a little bit of lore, and we don't know all of it, and that's fine. Yeah, it has to handle 3 cases in terms of the mod 3 parity of the number of atoms, which is quite a little bit annoying. But it finds a way. Rebuilding an input is a little less expensive than rebuilding a quintessence in terms of arms and instructions, if you roll that way.
Alright, next up, 23rd place. Another primary tie, Subway.
So
Two-sided
pile up
barrel.
at 60 and 59.
Well, this is a very clear count of 4.
Also, very clearly has 2 unification glyphs.
Yeah.
We're single atom peeling? No, we are half atom peeling. We got caltrop.
Yeah, take the caltrop, that's 4. And the other side just counts to 4 via bonder. Via stick.
And the 2
And I'm
arms on the
surprised the
triangle
Burlow
track
works out
allow it to feed it
anyways.
with gaps. The Burlow rotates at a time that the arms holding atoms are stationary so that it can color adjacent atoms with colors separated by 2.
That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
all the
Arm 7 and 6, that's pretty cool regulator.
I was going to say all these geometry arms to move the atom, but no, actually. Arm 17 is the only geometry arm. 16 and 10 are simply moving the Burlow, or moving the quintessence from one pipeline to the other, using actions that already were useful to load the unification in the first place. I like that.
That's
I made a
cool.
very early commitment not to load unification with 2 separate sets of arms, but this puzzle is hard.
It sure is. You can see it in the participation rate.
Alright, next up, 22nd place. How is it? Minus 4 points. Kevlan. Single stream recycling.
Jamu, if 7 and 6 pivot rotated, that would be less, but it would also put the atoms too close together, and therefore there would not be a gap in unification. Then they'd have to solve that differently because it would not have the Burlow correct.
That sure is a 7 track.
Count to 7. Count to 7 using tracks. Take 1 atom per loop.
7 via track and 4 via a hex arm, but you have to keep it loaded at 1 atom per loop to be able to use the hex arm count to 4. But it works.
Curved stick.
Oh, there's a swing that means that arm on track in the bottom right can't be a piston. That's a little bit of a sad plus 2i, but it's just 2i. Certainly no one else is at 55 or 54.
Right? Right?
Alright. Next up, Chickens in the Attic at 53 points.
Okay,
There's
but
no
is
track.
it slower?
Yes.
Yeah, that okay. It would have definitely changed the placement because of the track. But this is trackless, so
We love trackless salt.
We peel.
It's appealing.
Oh, we've got a pivot on the input. Pivot input to delay it is one of my favorite things.
Mhm.
Oh. So arm 1 misses it the second time because it is pivoted away. Not very cool.
Yeah, so it slows it down. The salt is very appealing.
Yeah, suppressing input by a number of tape loops by pivoting it is a big deal. Because the first thing that I did on this puzzle was not unification. It was fiddle with how to faff about getting inputs slow so that I didn't have to deal with a lot of stuff. This is one of the things I
Yeah.
found is pivot the input. Also interesting to see Chickens in the Attic position all of the instructions in the first 7 slots so that the instruction tapes all begin at the same time.
Except for arm 13. Arm 13 is not cooperating.
Oh no, those are
Oh,
still
we have a lot of
positioned
arms.
correctly. They just don't
Oh,
start
yeah?
on time.
So he writes, ugly as hell, the extra pivots to suppress the input are there, because 7 is not particularly compatible with 4 or 6. And if the input is grabbed every 6 cycles, that lost center atom from the previous input causes issues. Pretty clean, I think. This could have been 3 instructions on Berlo, yes.
Yeah,
No,
chat
wait a sec.
calling that
Is
out
it,
pretty easily. It does have 6, and unification doesn't care. Because everything's calcified, so you could just have it be a reverse of itself every other tape loop. Unification has that
Ooh.
glorious property that you just need the 4 elements. You do not need them all one after the other in a specific way.
It probably depends on how exact, the pivot works out on the wand.
The timing, yeah.
Yeah.
Would that matter? Does anybody
would
have
it matter?
52 Ti?
Oh, would it matter?
Would
42
it?
Genius 42.
I love that
53
yeah.
points.
Yeah, Genius
would
had
have
mentioned in
mattered.
chat. Definitely next. 7-4 time signature. Hell yeah. Genius gets it. Genius gets it. But there's so much track in this. It's really impressive that it has so low instructions and such much track. Yeah, in chat
16
saying, I
have
thought
Berlo
16
at home.
tracks would have done big time. Oh, it has
We have Berlo at home in stick form.
I love the Berlo printer. I can see this being an homage to Mr. Puzzle. Hold on.
He writes, this is a bit better. 37i was 16t. Hard to see easier ways to get an action in 1 in 4 and 1 in 7 other than using tracks. If we could have infinite area and or waste this puzzle, I could remove all or most of the tracks and have a much slower primer. But I guess this is the design choice to see how we handle these issues. He gets it.
This is like production instructions, but you get infinite space.
Mm-hmm.
You have infinite space, but you don't at the same time.
Callie Euresis out here shaving cost on this.
Tertiaries.
I am realizing that I forgot a 10G save on mine that I had come up with in the shower and not gone back to implement because I only worked on buckles yesterday. But yeah, I lost 10G. If someone has 10G and it's the only difference between their solve and mine, congrats.
On buckles or on this?
On this.
Calurius has point though, because if we remove the fire duplicator, then Berlo can stay there, and isn't it?
Berlo would still mess things up because it doesn't rotate consistently, but you definitely can duplicate air and water using the same duplicator, and you can duplicate earth and fire using the same duplicator.
You can just remove some duplicators and it'll be fine, I think.
Yeah, Grimbot would call you out on this puzzle, be like, hey, I saved 4 to G. Actually, Grimbot is French, so you have to put whatever I just said in a French accent.
Alright. Next up 19th place, Tweedledee at 46 points. Previous one was 53. We dropped, what was it? What is it? 7 points.
7 points. Okay. Okay. Royal Spade taking psychic damage in chat.
Quite a drop. People are
Uh,
scared. Be scared.
42 Genius,
The
42.
drop
There
is
has
here.
been Michira's 39 track, so that's the most one.
We're
Most
building
one shown.
we're building hair products. Yeah, one way to really limit the input rate is to do this suppression tactic, which I think waste reclamation TI is something you could look at on the leaderboard and see this tactic as like the way to do it wastelessly. But you'd have to look for waste reclamation with finite area, which you'd have to probably go to the visualizer to see.
Or, watch the stream. Because the stream is entertaining. Go watch the stream.
Oh yeah, you can actually watch content made by people who got up at 5 a.m. to go talk into a microphone. And by people who, it's 10 p.m. there?
I mean, it was panics. It was panic stream. I'm the one up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, you count too. You count too. I'm not just saying my own perspective today. I'm saying that this is something people do. This is an international community, and we love the game.
Synthesis from hair product, Yosh says.
Yeah.
That's a very salty hair product you got there.
I definitely looked at synthesis from alcohol TI on the way, but that one has 4 inputs, or 4 atoms in the input.
Yeah,
so when you have 4 atom input, you kind of solve your 4 problem already.
Isn't Pentapig solve almost wasteless anyway?
For which one?
TI, waste reclamation.
Oh no, Pentapigs had so much waste. It just made it slowly because it was it was still leaving a lot of parts on the table.
That's fair.
The 11 Ti was the one that was fully wasteless, and it still used disposal. You'd have to solve the center atom problem as well to be able to do that tech.
Oh, just put it back.
Just put it back. Just cuckoo it into a new input. Nothing is a problem.
Next up, 18th place, Mr. Royal Spade. 43 points.
All right, Mr.
People
Royal
were
Spade.
right to be scared.
This is one of the first
2
times
tracks.
I've directly benefited from vigilant VOD watching
Right, yes.
and consistent leaderboard checking. The solve has pirate in the name because I stole a lot of tech to make this. I took Mr. Puzzle's HC waste reclamation solve to unfurl the salt hexagon. 3x6 equals 6x3 is one of my favorite solutions of all time, and it made for an extremely comfortable way to brick the reagent in finite area. I took the volatility and tranquility TI record for the unification. Looking through the archives, it was created by Haxton ? I genuinely had no clue that you made this soap when I started. I actually shaped an instruction off your method, but it deserves credit as my starting place. Outside of that, it was all about painting the brick correctly. I got this down from my initial 58i, and I think it's very aesthetic. The wand used it to be 7 long, ruining everything. But getting it back to 2 makes the instruction save actually worth it. Enjoy.
Got it. So it
Or
has
this
a
Cognito 28.
carryover of 2. It's a 4x7 brick with a 2-atom handle so that there's always 2 atoms left over for that arm to never have to drop. So it is a full brick.
Welcome to Cognito 28. These solves exist.
Counting to 28 is Mr. Royal Spade, if only you had 1 fewer TI. You would have had everything I ever wanted. Bricking and 42. It is gobbling up its brick faster than it is making it. So this is one of those phased solutions.
Yeah.
But I guess it's because of that pivot on input that it is able to gobble up or able to take input so slowly.
The salt unfurling also. Genius 42 used it, I think.
And I guess because it takes 42 tape loops. No, it doesn't take 42 anythings. It takes 12 tape loops to grab an input, and then it takes 4x that, so 48 tape loops to build a brick. Oh, Mr. Royal Spade broke the volatility and tranquility TI record while he was at it. Let's
yeah,
go.
he had contacted me during mid-tourney that he actually found a save on the VNT TI record. This is the save.
Imagine people playing volatility and tranquility in 2025. I'm honored.
It is a quintessence puzzle.
Right. Next up. All of us. There's no 42. There's no 41. This is 40 points.
Got it. 42 will have to wait. What would Zorflax do? I hate to inform you, but Zorflax would eat a bunch of tissues.
A WWZD.
My first TI solution was quite a good cardinal chaos solve, something like 15 to 20 instructions. Unfortunately, it was not wasteless, so I built this instead.
We have
Another
a lot of
take one
multi-peelers.
at a time solve. And this is much simpler way of doing that.
More synthesis from hair product, yeah.
Yep.
It's a more cheap way to build a stick. It's stick. It's a very curled stick, but it's a stick in my heart.
Also, Mr. Royal Spade, I must divulge that I have found independent saves on the VNT record. So your record will have to be short-lived, unfortunately.
Oh no.
I like Critelli's placement. There's a cycle where the hair product is a nice little framing for Critelli.
A pedestal.
There's one single cycle.
Alright, next up, still at 40. Mr. Puzzle. But faster. This is another breaking solve we can already see.
Grab your brick now, do-si-do, count to 4 and let her go.
That is that looks like bricking, alright. Except this is Burlow first.
I want Mr. Puzzle's accent in all of this. He doesn't have that thick of an accent, but there is an amount of accent.
Mm-hmm.
It's grabbing an input every 7 or every 6, so it is having to process more than 1 atom per tape loop. It looks like once it gets down to bricking, it'll be processing 2 atoms per tape loop, because I see the unification setup that's a 2-atom thing. Chunk it.
Oh, that's a
chunk
fast.
it. Oh, it's processing 4 atoms per tape loop. Because it has an arm that is both delivering output and putting it in the other. It's a hex arm. Way to go.
Yeah, 8, 9, 10 together have, what is it, 13 instructions?
That's cool. That's cool.
Right.
We chomp.
Next up. Random name 7190. 39 Ti.
Random Yosh says, oh hey, it's Die Hard.
Oh yeah, Die Hard is the 4x4 colorful brick.
Yeah.
He writes...
Oh wow.
He writes, this is pretty much just a trackless instruction solve that has track, because it's the best way to move a brick like this. I think it's pretty good, but it's also the most obvious way to do it, I think. Converting a 7 atoms per molecule into 4 by rotating a brick. And it's probably not insanely optimized for that solution space, Not to mention other solution spaces that I didn't even consider. Then again, last time I submitted for instructions, I also had no faith in myself and got fibbed, so who knows.
This is a fast input rate, grabbing an input every 2 tape loops, but it's able to produce an output every tape loop except for 1 and 8. So it's 7 outputs per tape loop, or 7 outputs per 8 tape loops, which is pretty fast, but it is slower than 1 output per tape loop, so it works on 1 unification glyph. Yeah, this is good. I really like how quickly it makes the bricks, and then pretty parsimonious instruction-wise.
Also, somehow Berlu has one instruction on only one instruction, but I guess it is water is coming. I guess it because it doesn't need to care about the water.
Oh, every brick has a different arrangement of 4 cardinals. That's really funny to look at the seam between them and notice it go from one to the other. Okay, I really do like the seam having a total element switch up, and the unification glyph does not care. That makes this solve even prettier. Random name, you're cooking. You're cooking. 15th place is 15th place, but you're cooking. I'll give you that credit no matter what your placement is.
Alright. 14th place, 2 points better.
Alright, I have to be heading off though.
Bye, BS.
Y'all have fun. Y'all have fun looking at the other count to 28 solve that you're looking at screen right now. This time in a long stick form, but yeah, I'll be seeing y'all.
There's a lot of empty space in the middle. Wow.
Literally counting to 28.
And it's going to eventually chomp these 2 atoms at a time. I can just tell from the way that grabber works. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Vilfuck asking why Vilfuck was skipped. Apparently with a 37 Ti and a higher cycle count.
Wait. Somehow, yeah.
These are not the right numbers.
Alright, welcome back to the stream, everyone. This is the Vilfox solve that I've skipped. Five track.
Maybe using the CSV version would have been normal. Who knows?
5 tracks.
So this is grabbing once every 30.
But alright. I was gonna head off, but I was here to help troubleshoot. Have fun with the stream, y'all. See y'all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
I heard you liked 4, 6, and 7, so we put a 5 in your solve. Is this because 7 times 5 is 1 less than a multiple of 6?
Maybe
it certainly is shuffling a bunch of stuff around. Oh wait, arm 8. Interesting.
Huh.
So when it gets an output, it eats 4 of the atoms and puts 6 of them behind, and then it uses those 6 as an additional... I'm looking. I'm not understanding just yet.
And it recycles 2, I presume. Okay.
Got it. it can always make 4 of 6 into quintessence and 4 of 7 into quintessence. It's a recycling thing. It just takes a long time. And I wonder if that means that it needs 30 tape loops to be able to guarantee that the input is safe to grab again. That's cool. Cool that.
Yeah.
It's cool that it's extra. Wow, I'm dying here. I just ate some cereal and it's not landing well. It's cool that all of its extra atoms are always air and or fire and water. But it has a long enough delay that it'll never crash into anything from the other parts of the machinery. Still cooked. You're predicting half of your TI for the winner? That's pretty bold. For one, it's not an integer.
All right. Moving back to.
I was only at 45. I see.
I think we can skip this soap though, right?
We looked at it, but we didn't look at it thoroughly. We didn't talk about it. I really like it is moving quickly enough by extending the stick with a downwards pivot. So it takes up space below the bar and above the bar, which is a lot of space taken up, 1,052 area. This one takes an input every 6 tape loops using the rotate and then go backwards by 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because like a lot of the solutions have things that just need to have less than a certain amount of input, and then any number less than that is fine. It's like a conditional.
Mm-hmm.
TI is basically computation. That's my thought.
Maybe this week more than ever. So yeah.
Is there a way to see the previous submitters on the left?
I'll have to go and repopulate the entire thing again. So.
No.
Like. All right. I'm going to repopulate the previous submitters list for a few minutes. You can like. All right. Repopulating the past solvers done. All right. Next
Time
up.
to look towards the future.
Next up, 12th place, Ebonov. Another perfectly normal 1/6p.
The burlow is rotating once per tape loop. It's extracting 1 atom. But sometimes the atom it extracts is salt. and it has to add that back to the input.
Yep.
So those inputs never get yoinked, but the others get fully taken apart.
Yep.
And then they have to have their centers handled. And the center handling is a piston that is checking whether there are edge atoms. And if there are not edge atoms, then the center gets handled by an additional piston that counts to 4, knowing that there are exactly 4 atoms.
Oh wait, this
Oh
is
wait,
more.
no,
This is.
oh, this
God,
is way more cursed.
This is more cursed than I thought. Yeah.
This is way more cursed. It doubles up the 2s into. Oh no, this is so difficult. It's never gonna crash, and the site says it runs forever, but it's not. It takes 1s and it adds them to the next 1 that it finds, and it just has a buffer if it hasn't found a 1 yet. So 1 will become 2, and then that 2 will become a 1. But by the time it gets there, another input will have spawned on the 1 that was vacated. So it starts to have completely disconnected amounts. And then how does it always have something to pull when it needs something to pull? This is marvelous. The title gives it the exact amount of inauspiciousness that it suggests.
Ebonop writes, enter steady state at cycle 1224, which is after 7th outputs or 8th failed suppression, where the number of atoms repeats itself every 7 outputs or 42 tape loops. The primary promise for the unification to work is that every molecule that suppresses input has to have a salt at the criteria hex. The secondary promise is for making the primary promise possible to meet is that all empty slot has to be directly on the counterclockwise side of the criteria hex. ARM3 pulls single center water into staging area and pushes a stick of 2 atoms back from staging area when available. This recycling method allows some molecule to stay full all the time. It's very helpful for pivoting to leap arm to a hex arm instead of making it a penta arm. Hex arm means that the salts rejected by unification glyphs stay on the same 2 molecules, and then recycling of center water will never meet the rejected salts. Tape length of 12 is needed not only from ARM3 handing off to ARM2, but also ARM 2, 4, 3, 5, 6, 8, 7, where any of the 6 gaps are critical to avoid bad grabs.
Oh my gosh, it has like a 6-arm dependency chain to keep the period limited. Now this makes me happy, and I'm very glad that this was submitted. I love the description talking in terms of promises, because that's a way that I like to think about this game too. Is like, in computation, you have arms making promises. It's basically the lowest level API you can imagine.
All right. Alright, next up, 11th place, still at 36 points, Egg Sucker Triple 8. Slurpy Stick.
Oh, Slurpy Stick. This is a witch push style solve.
Yep. Seems like that, definitely.
An input every 6 tape loops as well, so it's very witch push coded. My favorite thing about Slappy Sticks is that they weren't nerfed.
So yeah, arm 6 has to act twice in a loop because it can't count to 4, so it has to count to 2.
But the 2 arms that are helping with unification only have to act once each, so it's 4 extra instructions for doing this.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, 2 points better. JPIV. New solution -20.
We are into the top 10 at 34 Ti.
Looks like waste reclamation.
That's...
Tastes like waste reclamation. Was nearly waste reclamation, and then bam, no Slurpy stick. I thought this goes anywhere near 8 like I've seen other Tourney TI puzzles go. Since there's no waste allowed, closest comparison maybe production cabinet solves. In which case, 34i seems somewhat reasonable. I'm betting it goes lower though, since cabinets don't get to use 630A like this. Maybe mid-20s. My first TI solve was so bad that instead of new solution 1, I called it new solution -1. I kept iterating on the initial solve, so I just kept decrementing the name. We are in the...
This does the exact same thing we looked at previously, where it has to run the stick slurper 2 times per tape loop.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a convergent idea, and it's getting 11th and 10th and 13th. In the transmutation engine, straight up slurping it.
Next up, 9th place, Calirius's. That one point better.
Okay. Something Callie had said in chat had me concerned that Callie might have a really solid TI. This is solid. This is top 10, but it's not what I was afraid of.
So this is... I say this is really an elegant way of transforming this into this.
Hey, yeah, we are looking at inputs and we are making 4x7 bricks. Yeah, Callie sees how to do it. There's just a bunch of instructions you don't need. This is absolutely how to do it, though. Glyph minefields, 4x7 bricks. I love how it backpropagates from that first brick.
Yeah, area is propagated forwards, not backwards.
Because Brillo is always stationary. Brillo doesn't have any instructions here.
Mm-hmm.
Water comes from the input. Earth and fire come from the pointy end of the sticks, and air comes from one twist that covers air once.
Alright. Next up, 8th place, Reinen. Just a tiny bit faster. There's 2 track on this one.
Oh, we are tracking in this top 10.
Yup.
Zorflax's bet was for if the winning solution has track, though. I wonder how possible that is.
Oh, and this is very similar to Ebonob's solution.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, it's putting the salts back. It's putting the salts back using a tri-arm. Oh,
no,
my goodness.
the the bi-arm
Bi-arm,
rotates, and there's no debond if bi-arm pivots it.
Got it.
Rhinin writes, "Yes, Mom, I know I'm not supposed to use track on TI metric. No, I'm not addicted. I can stop using track whenever I want. In all seriousness, it is very helpful track. I had a near-miss 30T plus I solution with no track, but a single collision made it impossible. It would also have worked if there were length 4 arms. The 9i quintessence building is stolen straight out of quintessential aerogel. Thanks, that saved me 2i. Lastly, after my performance on week 2 production instructions, I am going to predict that minimum is 22. I have no idea how to get anywhere near that, but it seems consistent with the level of nonsense this community is capable of."
I have to disappear. My dog is currently bugging me, but I liked that this one isn't. I don't know. This one has a lot more of a sensible finish for the last 4 atoms than Ebanov's, so it's not as chaotic.
How do you have a big pile up with 7 soaps left? Alright, next up, spiritual shampoo. Very small. And this piston by itself handles the entire take one atom per tape loop. With a little help from arm 2, obviously, but still.
All right, I'm back, and we are counting using a Burlow on 4 track.
Oh yeah, also
Wow.
arm 3 has 8 instructions, but every single one of them is justified, I think.
This is a really good input suppression motif. This is cabinet tech.
Yep.
I was looking for a disassembly like this, and then I decided a method didn't need it. But yeah, this is clean. This is what a mathematical title.
Sergi D claiming the left side would have saved 8 instructions on his solve.
Oh, what? Sergi has not been yet. Min is very low.
Alright. Next up is a host soap, which is mine. Yeah, this uses basically the same method as the spiritual shampoos.
Okay. Is it an 8 instruction piston that you? Yeah, exactly the same thing. But you used a track to accomplish arm 1.
Yep. And instead of like Berlow and track, this uses this arm 4 pivots and the parity changes for the Berlow.
I like this input gobbling method.
And quint is just typical 10 instruction quint. I'll move on to the next solve. GUI.
I guess it's 11 here though because arm 4 pivots.
Ah, right.
GUI's using a tech that hasn't been seen yet, according to chat. How does it get rid of that water atom? Oh, arm 3 just got it.
Oh,
we
yeah,
are
this is
cycling.
Yeah, this is permanent catalyst, yeah.
That's so funny.
This is not only recycling, this is permanent catalyst.
I like it.
7 atoms
They've got
pass.
some sauce.
Yeah. And the Berlo is the, what was it? Identical to what Pentapic used in the Atom reactor.
Oh yeah, because Pentapic also had that water atom as a permanent catalyst. I remember the track that just existed to put water on the catalyst spot. But because this is in constant motion, the catalyst is itself in constant motion, but it only costs 3 instructions to feed it back in thanks to arm 9's position. This is just ether reactor. Interesting.
The notes they write in the notes, 7 atoms pass it, 7 fates foretold. Yet at the end of the broken track lies TI and TI alone. I was stuck at 28i plus 4t from the day of release, up until about 9 hours before deadline. During the week I had managed to get multiple different near-miss 31s, but all of them broke after finitely many outputs because of Berlo. I had already given up and gone to bed when, in the early hours of Sunday morning, my brain got the itch and I decided to give it one last try. The result speaks for itself. I am very pleased to have found this machine, but I suspect that 31i is too much high for free space TI. 14 is trivial with infinite area. In all probability, my hard work has been spent barking up the wrong tree for the 3rd week in a row. 20th place would be a pleasant surprise. Well, 6th place.
6th is better than 20th. Top 5 will have Sergi, Kazian, Fiesta, me, and who am I forgetting? Someone who hasn't been in chat very much. I know Mara didn't end up doing TI.
Well, we're gonna see who that is, because I'm also I like that mystery solve very much.
You like the mystery solve, okay.
Alright, next up, 5th place, Fiesta.
John is in chat saying, oh, think of me. John's gotta be the one. I forgot John, but I did not forget John after one message.
My kingdom for a slappy stick.
73 area. What's slappy stick in 73 area?
Without a finite area limit, this puzzle is much too easy. I said as much to Hexton while showing him an 18i solution I built in 10 minutes. Slappy stick tech is too well established to give much room for magic here. But with the limit, that's a wild different kettle of fish. Berlo works most efficiently. In isops, if it sees 2 atoms per 3 loops, 1i, 2 atoms per 1 loop, 3i, or 1 atom per 1 loop, 2i plus catalyst, min 4i. But none of these numbers works well with a 7 atom input. Without suppression or a LCM track loop, the slowest we can produce atoms is 7 per 6 loops. Too fast for 2 of those options and requiring very awkward conditional center atom handling for the last. So, ruling out tracks, I decided early that suppression was the answer, trying for 1 atom per loop. Fortunately, Pentapic showed an excellent method for this in Aether Reactor. Converting the bone structure of the input into spiral allows a single arm to conditionally handle the center atom, with only one extra instruction. In addition, Penta showed how to get all 4 colors from a 2i Berlo, which usually only cycles through 3 colors. Build a catalyst from the 4th color before the wheel starts spinning and conditionally apply that to every 4th atom. He accomplished that with a length 4 track loop. Here I manage it with 4 long sticks. I feel good about my work here, but do see some weakness. First, I am using the least instruction efficient Berlo timing of the ones I mentioned. Second, it costs me 7i to spiralize the inputs, which seems excessive. Finally, using sticks to count to 4 costs 1 extra instruction, on account of the consequent need to arrange for debonding. All told, it seems perfectly reasonable that these same ideas could go as low as 26 or so. Can we see the setup
Yeah,
again?
this is really cool with the Earth being the permanent catalyst. There has been water permanent catalysts, but this just decided, I'll leave the Berlo on Earth. So all of the other arms are delayed start, Berlo and the unification arms. That's a little... I really struggle to do delayed start programming because I change my tape loop period so often that every time I need to change it, it's like, well, okay, this is on instruction 74 and I need to move it to instruction 92. And it's like, whoa, that's not fun.
Relatable.
Shampoo disassembly was so much lower instruction than this. It was crazy to see Sergi D saying, oh, Spiritual Shampoo's left side saves 8 instructions on mine, knowing that Sergi is somewhere lower than this.
Speaking of Sergi, 28 Ti.
So Sergi would have 20. That's fucked up.
And for the next trick, I'll be counting to 4. It ain't much, but it's honest work. Solving this puzzle in finite area and rate meant most TI degeneracy is strictly forbidden. For the same reason, it was harder to extrapolate tricks from existing TI solves in the leaderboards. I think a couple of instructions can be saved from this approach, but steeper drops require a complete overhaul. 28 instructions is a good benchmark, given that it is only 16 more than synthesis via alcohol, which is trivial in comparison. I attempted using track because it made counting to 4 easier, but it ended up being worse on T+I. The solution does 2 things. First, it turns the input into a single atom stream, which is grabbed once it reaches length 4. Then Quintus produces it in a similar manner to synthesis via alcohol. Since Berlo doesn't count to 4 unless it uses track, 1 atom from each group is always water and the others are duplicated at a random order but guaranteeing no repeated cardinals. I think min is in the mid-20s, but I did not have time for more. I'm eager to see what other TI wizards come up with.
Well, consider my confidence a little bit shook. But also, Kazian making top 3 after being so not confident is fun. Kazian is our... Kazian and Sergi have been trading off leading points in the tournament.
Yep. Alright.
I really like how Arm 1 serves pivots in 2 different locations. It disassembles the spiral and it does the slowing down and spiralifying of the input.
Yeah, it pivots here, and both pivots serve a different purpose. Yeah.
Alright, now I clasp my hands together and say, please don't drop straight to me. Please don't drop straight to me.
Next up, 2 points better. Kazian.
Good job, Kazian.
It's an interesting
Improved through shame.
Oh yeah, ARM2 peels the spiral, and at the same time it loads the quintessence by itself.
Oh, wow. It has 2 grabs, but... ARM3 is an input conditional. So that's how it manages to take an input at the exact right number of tape loops between, is that it is input suppression conditionals.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. How does the unification glyph not overload?
There's a sneaky calcification glyph under here. And it is practically duplicating 2 atoms at the same time, so it can't overload.
It phases. It phases through 12 atoms, making 3 outputs, and then it reaches atom steady state, but the input takes 7 atoms, so this takes 84 atoms processed before it actually repeats its steady state. That's really cool.
And also,
that's really cool, yeah.
Since Kazian writes amazing notes, it's an interesting idea. I'm sure everyone has looked at their salt shaker with Van Verlo's Temptation when they found themselves just a tad short of cardinal reagent. And who doesn't have a jug of Hydra Hex in the cleaning supplies under their sink? May as well make your cardinal reagents all at once, using something cheap and in industrial bulk, and I suppose you could even put the vial of quintessence back into Hydra Hex job? Elemental quintessence normally needs an isolating environment to last long, and we wouldn't typically think of packing it in household cleaning salt, but surely. Yes, thank you for this presentation. We often forget the engineering of alchemical engineering to make alchemy eminently practical, with the real constraints of the common man. In that spirit, I've avoided the typical unmanageable waste polymer for this replication and ensure that it continues for however much hydrated salt you pour out of the jug, instead of asking one to measure the reagent. Alchemist Kazian.
It's trying to take the perspective of the symposium speaker,
yeah.
or a symposium audience member reviewing the speaker.
Yeah.
I like the lore or the setup of this. Kazian plays really well into it.
Mm-hmm.
Kazian is not a brick. Decidedly not a brick. There's never a
there's
construction
no
bonding more than 7 atoms in this entire puzzle solution.
The only brick is the input, and that's it.
Can't wait for brick. Well, it's me and John, and I definitely have an opinion about bricking.
Oh yeah, I should also divulge that John's soap is decidedly not bricking. So it's brick versus no brick.
Bricking from me, no bricking from John. Who's second, who's first? You have me worried by liking John's solve a lot.
But before we look at who's second place, Shadow Cluster had a test. Shadow Cluster had a test soap on this one, and he pared it down to 25 instructions.
25 with track and 4816C. So this is what Brad was saying, the voluminous solve. You do a slappy stick and then you just don't slappy stick forever.
Wait a sec. This is... No, he has a much more cursed one, but that hasn't downloaded yet.
Oh. Okay, there's a 24 hiding, the Cognito Hazard solve, but the 25 is a bricky brick.
Oh, 24 is also brick.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Downloaded the solve. The Cognito Hazard solve.
By being aware of it.
Titled, The Intended Solution.
How expensive is it? 2910! What the fuck? What the fuck? Exactly the intended solution. I dreamed of something like this.
The only track is use it to. The only two track is use it to push the brick at a predetermined pace. Alright, I'm going to speed this up a little bit because it takes a while, as you might have seen briefly in the solution screen.
I don't understand how it has
it
different
doesn't
lengths.
output till cycle 15,000, but the journey is just as important as the result.
So it has to re-equalize the lengths of the because the inner column of the input disassembly moves 3/2 as fast as the top and bottom layers. So it is using a piston to renormalize that once everything meets up. And it has backpropagation of dupes, but the first thing, oh my god, how brick is this brick? The intended solution, he says. Who let Shadow Cluster cook, and can we give them a Nobel Peace Prize? And it's all for 24.
All it got beaten. One instruction from, like, I guess the 25 was mildly Cognito Hazardous, but... This is already...
I want to see what the brick looks like from a distance. But Zoom doesn't zoom out any further. I want Shadow Cluster to GIF the steady state. Does it swing this brick on disassembly?
No,
okay.
It doesn't. Thankfully,
that's at least nice. See, I definitely dreamed of doing all of the glyphs needed in Slappy Stick and then gathering at the exact rate at the end. I just did that really compactly, so it doesn't take 15,000 cycles.
I probably should have turned on the collision check, but...
The staircase of 24/7. Okay.
Collision patch.
Yeah, this is not watchable without collisions. The AHK didn't update because it still calls this a 25 called merge solution.
Something is happening.
Oh, we are backpropagating all sorts of things. This gives touch grass vibes. In the sense that I kind of want to whisper into my microphone, touch grass.
I'm 7, 5, 6.
Oh, Shadow Cluster, you didn't delayed start your arms at the end? That's a little disappointing. Oh, there's a 24 atom sequence to feed into Quint Chaos, but it's not Quint Chaos, it's just the sequence that happens to work for Tenai Quint. And it gobbles it up one column at a time from behind. So it does rotate, but it rotates things that have already broken off. It doesn't rotate from the Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
This
gosh.
giant brick is on push only.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. You can solve backwards. You can start with what sequence of colors will work with a 10i quint. Solve for that, and then make the problem of painting enormous sticks appropriately. And that's a very chaotic sequence that you can just do with enough space. This is Cognito Hazard solve. I love it. Now that I'm watching the reason for all the Brillo colorifications, I love it. I love it.
All right.
And so when you should fast forward it a little further because I want to see it get to the second stick. I want to see it like steady stating. Never mind. I don't want to see it steady stating. You're already outside of there. My stream delay, I was asking this before you had already left.
All right. All right. Next up, the second place. It's. Wait a sec.
Don't wait a
John,
sec. I'm dying here. 3P. Let's go. Let's go. All right, John. What's your beautiful non-bricky solve? 23.
After that, this is just one atom per loop. One atom per loop with three instruction Brillo with duplication on both sides.
This is the exact same Brillo as Kazian used, so that it cycles through 12 atoms and makes 3 outputs.
Yes.
The one thing that you had to solve that waste reclamation didn't solve was the fact that waste reclamation wanted 2 of one element and 1 of the other. This wants them in equal proportions, so that 3i Brillo and the 12 atom phase is like really important to this. This really does do the same thing as Kazian did of solving the phasing problem. This is beautiful. It also is peeling 5 inputs instead of 6 by using exactly what race reclamation used.
Nice. All right. And at long last, first place, B.
So when Ryan said 22, I made the next remark I did about my dog so that I wouldn't stand in front of the mic saying, I need to say something, but I can't say anything. I have 22. Ryan was completely correct. This input takes 42 tape loops to grab 2 inputs. So you need to watch this one pretty fast. I think I set up Critelli not just so that it's pretty, but so that if you alt-click on Critelli, things will go fast until the part where it starts to be in steady state. But I don't know if you want to be in steady state right away, because this has to be experienced.
All right. Oh yeah,
it makes
setup
14 atom chunks. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The setup is pretty amazing.
This structure that's sitting here on the debonders is 2 different parts, but it can be appended to itself over and over to make the diamond shape. And every 42 tape loops, another 2 columns gets appended. And now it is gobbling up a diamond. There is a little bit of waste that gets dropped off that never interacts with the machine again. But yeah, if you just keep appending that little P shape, the P and the inverse P, you get diamonds every 84 tape loops. And then the quint gobbler down there eats diamonds at 42 tape loops per diamond. So it works. It gets the complete 4 columns out of the way just in time for the next 2 columns to be added to the brick. The quint cadence is very basic comparatively. It spaces, it makes the gap for the quint by just having a 4-atom stick get debonded into the new one, into the arm 5. So the spacing is kind of perfect. I'd noticed a 10G save, and I don't have to calcify one of the waters so long as I line it up so that that position on the brick is always going to be water when it needs to be. So I missed 10G, but 10G is 10G. This is a winning solve.
Like I
had 25, and then I got 1 arm saved, so this became the winner.
I think most of the things that were written in your notes have been you already have explained better than notes code. But I will just add the final line. I like that bulk transmutation is breaking puzzle. Very very apt.
I like that it's bulky, and so you brick. I like grab, pivot, drop, rotate as a low instruction input slower. I learned that from... I think I initially credited it to Rebix, but then I also used it in that solution of the puzzle called Trust the Process, where it was a grab, pivot, drop, rotate.
Yeah, this is very trust the process, yeah.
I spent like 10 hours just using 4 instructions, grab, pivot, drop, rotate, and seeing what bonders and debonders I could place and what it made. And eventually this one was the closest I could find to making the exact brick shape that I wanted. And adding a 6-eye piston, and it did. It made the brick shape I wanted. It dropped off a waist exactly where it needed to. And yeah, I can show the 25 that basically it added what Mr. Royal Spade had of a giant arm to move the bricks from where they were pulled off of the sheet printer to the gobbler. But the sheet printer and the gobbler are connected directly, which is the savings of 1 arm. So this saves a ton of area, a ton of cost, and makes the glyphs very precise. It's a huge glyph soup, but they're all very precisely placed. Oh yeah, you can actually just load by 25.
Method,
yeah.
The exact same method, but there's this arm.
Yeah, there's a transport arm between the sheet printer and the gobbler. This is the first victory screen I got on the puzzle. I didn't solve buckles until I had this. So my first victory screen looked like this solution to this puzzle.
Alright.
And then I just kind of obsessively looked at that transport arm and thought, I don't think I need you.
Alright. I think though we should move on to the next metric, the buckles.
Yep. Buckle up. I'm glad my confidence was backed up by actually winning.
This is the fastest solve of Shadow Cluster TI playtest. We haven't seen this one. Or have we seen this one? I don't remember. This is very TI coded, probably good. Probably this is the... Yeah, this is the faster TI solve. Right. We have also seen this one. Oh yeah, Hello Jasper submitted a G-SOAP. After all that insanity in week 5, this is just a simple tracked G-SOAP. Alright. Next up is GUI we have seen. GUI we have seen. GUI solve is probably a faster version of the TI solve. I think, question mark? No, we have seen this one. Alright. New submitter. At 33rd place, bubbling.
Bubbling. This looks instructions coded.
Yeah.
Except it's got a lot of them. It's got a lot of repeats. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh, it's so pretty. But it takes quite a while to get there.
Alright, he writes, I had a busy week and didn't get much time to play. And on top of this, being my first real foray into fractional P, I couldn't put in all the effort I wanted to. I got the beginning nice and low in instructions, as you can see with the flower crown it builds. I was quite proud of figuring out how to get the barrel to alternate the element. But then gave up at the assembly stage and just made it all happen at once. I would have loved to figure out how to do it in fractional P as well. I can't wait to watch the stream later to see how it's done. P.S. The name is just because I made this on my birthday. However, this might have intended as a TI solve, but this scores better on cycle solve, so this is where it should be. This is where it will be shown. Alright. Next up. Oh yeah, happy birthday. Also, next up, 32nd place. Also a new submitter. EBDB.
EBDB. I imagine an EBDB is a sleepy. I'm EB. We're building 1 quint per output, and we make waste. That is why this didn't show up in the previous metrics, even if it has low instructions.
Yes. It cycles of fucking course there's waste. Alright, next up. 31st place, no longer breathed in. She says, this one is much easier to understand because the arms are only multiple when necessary. Solution created in stock GOG OM. Title edited in Emacs. I see. This is just a TISO reproposal for cycles. Okay.
So it's period shortened from the TI solve?
Yeah, I think so. Period shortened and arm acting twice, etc. It's still, so it gets down to 149 cycles. All right. Next up, matrix.
Trixie thought she would be next.
Very long pause.
You know you can 12p it to get rid of long pauses. We are bulk transmuting. You know, I did not consider one input per color.
Mm.
But yeah, I really think that writing it out to be 12p saves something like 40 cycles here. This is new solution 1. I'm not gonna criticize a new solution 1 too much. I think Matrix just made a solution, so.
Alright, next up is my playtest solve, which was aimed at C plus A, but this is the fastest of the playtest solve that I have made.
This was C plus A?
Yes.
You made 12 waste atoms in a C plus A solve. Or no, 8 waste atoms.
I mean, trying to
You
recycle
8 inputs to make them.
Yeah, trying to recycle this sounded like more hassle than it was worth. So. Alright. Next up. 29th place. Philbok. Snake Draft.
850G.
And 2000 area.
And trackless.
You can slappy stick, just not in TI.
Slappy stick buckles. Because Vilfoot got down into the 30s on actual TI. I wonder if this has lower instructions, even when it's using 3 unification glyphs for funny reasons.
This is still like geared towards cycles. I think.
Yeah. Even if you didn't use the 2nd and 3rd unifications, you would be able to make. It's probably like 17 TI out of this.
Probably, yeah. Alright. Next up, 28th place. Philbok says that it is low effort so for the fun.
For fun.
Next up, 28th place, Nightshine. Title, not very. Note says, fast. I'm not doing stupid stoichiometry for finite area. It's fast, but not very fast. Fast enough though.
Okay, it has a permanent catalyst. Oh, this is an instruction solve that has infinite area. So it is the only shown in this metric.
All right, okay.
Because you can see the Brillo is like out of the way, even though you could do this with one input.
Right.
Interesting. This is the problem with the restrictions, is that some people want to play the puzzle a very specific way, and so they kind of throw themselves out of both metrics. But in this case, you at least are under budget, so you have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
I had thought about the opportunity, though, for people to have like a slappy stick with tons of glyphs and an infinite area, and you would solve the puzzle, and neither of the metrics would like you.
I mean, I don't think it's that excessively difficult to make make the soap conform to one metric, one restriction. But yeah, fair criticism.
I guess my TI solve conformed to both restrictions, but it was 2200 something cycles.
All right, next up, who in the chat was predicting she was next. Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company.
She was predicting this back on EBDB.
She writes, "What the? Okay, who's the genius doctor who gave me 7 atoms when 2 quints need 8? Think! Anyone who can count will tell you that that's the wrong ratio. What, is this 8 atoms supposed to be dropped off by some train from outer space or something? Whatever, I can work with this. I can just grab 4 of them just fine. Still, it's hardly a work of genius." And then there's a line break to separate the lore from soul notes. One of 2 things has happened. Min rate for quintessence from 1 salt input is 8. Min latency for 1 salt input to quintessence is naively 14. Grab duplicate, 8 for sorting the atoms onto quintessence, 4 cycles to wait for quint to appear, grab pivot output. Min latency for hydrated hexastabilized salt into quintessence is naively 14 plus grab. Deboned core, create gap, deboned first salt, calcify core. 4. That means that min cycles is around 18 plus 8 by 11, which is exactly 106. This means that, naively, I have 2 cycles to shape before I hit min, if Berlo geometries are scuffed. As they seem to be based on my soap, then I've hit min cycles. This means one of 2 things. Either A, I performed astonishingly well and will rank top 10, maybe even top 5. Or B, min cycles is frightfully easy and I'm missing something crucial, and this is secondary race, meaning I have missed top 30 by a mile. Given my usual performance in these tournaments, I'm putting my money on the latter. A likely contender for why the latter would be the case would be if the actual min involves disassembling 2 of the input at once, thereby doubling the rate, but I'm not sure how to geometrically get 2 disassembly constructs close enough to the Brillo to sync up, so I'm making a likely incorrect assumption that this is impossible. It seems like there's every opportunity for me to just be wrong about case A, and also I didn't even put that much thought into my soap, so hopefully my soap shows up earlier in the stream rather than later. Good luck to those placing above me. Signed,
It would be
Trixie
curious to see. It would be interesting to see what the restriction of 1 duplicator would do to buckles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can just duplicate from atoms to other atoms instead of from Brillo, which means you can do a lot more than this in terms of rate.
Yep. Signed, Trixie Kagami, the Cheshire Alchemist, seemingly performing concerningly well since right now, please send help. P.S. This submission is the most up-to-date one. It fixes a spelling error in the title and changes the length of arm 1 from length 3 to length 2 for aesthetic purposes. P.P.S. The lore and title are a reference to Honkai Star Rail. I apologize if the jokes fall flat. I've never played it, so...
Theory min cycles is 22, if I calculated right. Which is funny, because that's the number I got for instructions. But it's like not alchemical slag, quint medium. It's like quint medium theory min cycles where you have to do some ridiculous quint duplication propagation.
Yeah.
So I put reasonable min being sub 30, but not by that much.
Sub 30. All right. All right. Next up. 26th place, Guilty Bystander. Oh yeah, sub 100. We drop about 20 cycles. Yeah.
Oh, we're wasting one water. We're wasting the centers. All right. We're using inputs to make 3 outputs, and we have to use that 4 times to make the products. It's good to see both sides of Burlow coming into play, though.
Mm-hmm.
The first rule of cycles theory is you grab the inputs as often as you can, usually every 2 cycles, and you try to make that work. In the case of Trixie's solution, she was grabbing every 28 cycles, so it was about 14 times slower than theory. For rate, at least. Latency does make a difference in terms of like how long it takes to get the outputs outputted, but rate-wise. Oh no, spiritual shampoo, I'm not even saying within budget. I'm saying like actually building a low cycles solution as a cycles main, it would be somewhere under 30, but not by much.
Uh-huh.
Sub 30 under budget would be really cool to see. I don't know what to expect here. Budgets are crazy.
Next up, 25th place, Opus. Speedy solve, no, speed solve. I don't know, there's
1000 G. A bunch of pistons with no instructions. We just wanted the 1000. It's not like So this is 1 quint glyph operating every 4 cycles.
Yep, it seems, yeah, seems
With a
like
catalyst. This is 70C at 470G, but it did 6P it to save 5 cycles and then added a bunch of like costs because funny.
They write, tried doing a huge brick, but it was just worse than a vanilla approach. So with 75 minutes left until the deadline, I threw out everything and made this.
What was Albatross in Discord saying? My TI and cycle solves are almost the same cost as each other. Clearly, at least one of them is not great. Oh, where's not great this tournament? Oh, and then writing, my TI and cost are no longer, or my TI and cycles are no longer roughly the same cost as each other. That was I added a bunch of pistons to use up the rest of the budget. It's cool to go look at the Discord messages and think about what they actually meant afterwards now that I know enough.
Alright, next up, 24th place, Mr. Royal Spade.
We have 1 quint glyph again. And we're using it like Matrix did, with wheels containing 1 element each. Is it?
It's doing some sort
Why?
of dance.
What? It's got wings. This song's got Red Bull.
He writes.
Oh.
He writes, where my TI record was a collection of ideas from different puzzles. This solves idea theft is much more direct. A massive thank you to Sai Looks Away is warranted here, as this is literally the volatility and tranquility RG solution. I just plucked it from the bottom left corner. There are some sequencing differences to get 12 products out faster, but the ARM layout and the overall idea aren't mine. This can be improved a lot if tinkered with the layout. I'm sure I could knock 5 to 10 cycles off, but potentially more. I don't like cycles though, so I'll save that for other people who stole from the same soul but smarter. P.S. The looping took an insane amount of effort, way more than this solution deserves. Let it loop a bit to give the wasp its antenna.
I guess volatility and tranquility really was a good choice to try to steal from on this puzzle because it has the same input shape and you make a quintessence out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I sure did make a puzzle and then forget about it. I only looked at waste reclamation when I looked at this. I didn't even look at Aether Reactor. People who were looking at Aether Reactor and V&T, I'm thinking, oh, that's smart.
Imagine forgetting your own puzzles.
Oh, yeah, I do that. I do that from time to time. I was trying to go through the tournament and remember what all of the puzzles were, and I forgot High Gloss Finish, and I like High Gloss Finish. I just couldn't remember it.
Alright. The rotations, the pivots are getting a tiny bit chuggy. 23rd place. Random name 7190. 1.5 pipelines. We are starting to see failed outcost. I guess we already saw that. We already saw that before from Mr. Royal Spade and all of us, but
I got a first place, so it's fine if I'm like barely top 20, but I think I'm a little better than barely top 20. I just don't know what to expect from this. I really like the Runaway Burlow. Oh, wow. Yeah, 1.5 pipelines.
Yeah. The half pipeline. And the waste.
It's grabbing an input every 4 cycles, and it's using it to make 1.5 outputs. So that is 1.5 outputs per 4 cycles, 3 outputs per 8 cycles.
He writes, as may be relatively obvious by the structure of the machine, this solve was originally a single pipeline 4R solve. But then, with the remaining money and a bit of clever Burlow placement, I was able to give it another half pipeline to process some of the waste atoms. Unfortunately, my design is too expensive to get another full 4R line going. Even if Burlow wasn't a concern, I also probably could have saved latency by avoiding bricking, but this is really the only way I know to easily get low rate without a lot of brainpower and gold. Neither of which were in large quantities this week.
Yeah, the gold was limited, and then there are some puzzles that just make your brain turn off, and those are the ones that use Burlow if you're me.
Yeah. What was Kazim calling that? Van Berlo's temptation.
Yeah, I made 2 solves, one of them way too cheap, the other one right a budget. I could imagine there being other ways to get to the budget with a lot better cycles, but I didn't find them and I didn't make them.
Alright. Next up. 22nd place, Murakonda.
Hey, Mora did submit. I know that she didn't get a TI in.
She says,
but I guess every solution's a TI if it doesn't make waste.
She says, final day 3 hours solve. No secondary optimization past hitting the budget. This is also the one input per each cardinal method.
There we go. Did I bulk at all for C? Let me think. There are things with more than 7 bonded atoms in my solution.
Oh yeah, it's wasteless.
Yeah, so this does solve on both metrics. This manages to score an additional like 4 points just for the fact that it actually qualifies for T plus I.
True.
Mara doing the 30 points per time optimization. Under budget and finite area, finite rate.
Yeah, right.
We don't need to watch it in slow-mo.
Should I speed this up a little bit?
It looks better at the intended speed, in my opinion.
All right. All right. Next up, Coco 52. Still at 58 cycles, but cheaper.
Oh yeah, because even under budget, cost is a secondary.
What is this doing here?
Pushing towards budget.
Does this like? Okay, that's why.
Oh, it's there to bond the waste to get. Oh, that's fucky. I love it. Oh, I love it. So this takes 6 cycles to grab 2 inputs. Each input is used to make 1 quint, so it's effectively 2 outputs per 6 cycles. Whereas Mars was using a single quint glyph, and it was trying to operate it every 3, but it also had downtime while it was restocking the wheels. So it was, these are both close-ish to 1 output per 3 cycles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the motif of taking only 4 atoms from the input sounds... This also shows the motif of taking only wasting 3 atoms and taking only 4 atoms from the input.
You could sure do that.
Mm-hmm.
You get inputs really fast if you want them. Faster than a machine can reasonably use. I'd say that the actual thing I'm looking at when I'm thinking of cycle count is, especially with 12 outputs, just the rate. Like, how often is the unification glyph proccing, and how many unifications are they?
All right. Next up, 42 Genius 42.
He got top 20.
Mm-hmm.
Spending 400 G to reduce cycles by 5. Oh, wow. This is a cool feeder.
What's the...
Oh, I see where the extra cycles are being spent is the inputs that go around the top.
Ah, all right.
Because it was very nearly in every 4 machine using the first quintessence glyph, but then there's more happening on the right to give it a few more outputs.
Ah, I see. All right.
Oh yeah, and it saves exactly 1 quintessence worth of material. So it does sacrifice 1 output, make 2 more outputs from it, which saves roughly 4 cycles, but something else saved a 5th. I'm not sure what. I can see the skeleton of this, the simpler solution that literally just runs that one quincglyph every 4 cycles using the input and doesn't have to worry about extra stuff above and below.
I see. So yeah, the note is just simply, well, it's 5 fewer cycles than what I had before at just 600 cost.
I spent 150 G for 1 cycle, so I get it. I wasn't at budget yet. I could add more and I could get a cycle out of that.
Alright, next up, 1 cycle faster. X or triple 8.
Two pipelines, both of which are using the full wheel thing. And outputting every 4. Cool, cool. I mean, yeah, 8 inputs does make 12 outputs. And you just get those 8 inputs at min rate and then spend a while actually chomping them up.
Yeah. Very rather clean method, I guess. Conceptually simple, yeah.
Cool to have this all under budget. How are you, Haxton, feeling about the 1000G budget? Does it make streams easier to run to have machines that always have a fixed upper limit of complexity?
I mean, I was willing to run mechas. I was willing to stream mecha, so like
that's true. And you also showed Shadow Cluster's Cognito Hazard TI solve, so
it doesn't like matter too much, but like it's somewhat better too. And there's also zoom tools, so it isn't that much of a concern for me.
Yeah, fair. I know that the most complicated solution we've looked at is shadow clusters and then Ebanov's.
So this is like 2 rate but high latency?
Yeah, and then it doesn't actually have the machinery to keep up the rate, but it grabs its 8 inputs that it needs and then gobbles them up.
Alright.
Be right back.
Oh, okay. Next up is Cavalier. 4 in 2 cycles faster still. Only 1? How is it gonna work? Okay. This is 3 rate, so this is working the unification at full rate. Working the single unification at full rate.
Yeah, my first solve that I made, which was way under budget, was a 1 unification 3R.
3.5 rate. No, this is 3 rate.
Yeah, arms 21 and 22 operate for 6 cycles.
Yeah. Alright. Next up, Michira at 53 cycles. We are keep... Okay.
Is this just a waste stick?
Definitely feels like that. Okay, yeah, waste stick.
After a lot of setup.
And this is... only use it?
So it's a every 4,
Every 4, but
but
3
it
more.
does get odd 2 out, odd 3 out.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's odd 3 out on an every 4. I can't really tell what the effective rate is of that, but it's every 4 in perpetuity. Well, until it crashed 280s. I wonder how many cycles it loses to setting up the odd one pop. I don't think it loses. Well, it uses 2 cycles to grab the catalyst, and then the first input gets diverted. So it loses 6 cycles to set up, 2 of which were the catalyst, which it kind of needed anyway. And then it saves 12 cycles by odd 3 out. So yeah, this would have been a 59 or a 57.
I see.
Or no, 59 or 61. But yeah, it's definitely making use of its budget with that odd 3 out pipeline. Looking at 995, it found the budget and used it. It's a lot of duplicators though, and duplicators are actually really expensive, as are pistons.
True. Alright. Next up, 16th place, Reinen. Asymmetry makes the dream work.
1000G.
Exactly 1000G.
2 unifiers. Are we running at rate? Oh no, we're running the egg sucker method.
Yeah, that
The
one.
2 wheels of wheels.
So all saves from this is from latency, right? Because rate is just the same.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I guess if n equals 8, and this is getting all 8 worth of material on the board. Then it is just latency.
Reinen writes, this works pretty well. The latency is a bit painful, but it's the only approach I've really tried, and I don't want to redesign. It's also very pretty, and exactly 1000 cost, so I don't feel too bad. I had a 990 cost solve at 53 cycles before making this, and I felt like I could squeak out one more cycle. I realized that because the top half run 2 cycles ahead of the bottom half, I can give up 1 cycle on top, saving 10 gold, to gain 1 cycle on the bottom, spending 20 cost. That saves me 1 cycle overall for an extra 10 cost, which puts me at exactly 1000 cost. Hooray. I'm pretty sure theory min is in the 22 to 24 range. The latency makes it difficult to calculate exactly, and I didn't bother because of the cost restriction. If anyone gets under 30, I will be stunned. Good luck, everyone.
See, Ryan's got the base predictions.
Mhm.
Calculates min pretty well. Sets the same. I'll be stunned if anyone gets under X as I did. And then they also predicted the TI winning number properly. So like, yeah, let's go Ryan. I like how you see the game. Good job on the solution.
Alright, next up, 15th place, Chickens in the Attic. Non-Baker's Dozen.
Do unification. And we're building this from 4 inputs. And we're restocking the 4 inputs. All right. This is a good looking solve.
Alright, a cool thing I found is that the first core from the first one are not used. The core from the first one are not wasted, but since it puts effort to color the core of the top pipeline, it can recycle the core of the top pipeline. Lefting with
Oh,
this.
so the second one starts with fire so that it recycles, and that's why it ends up crashing because of paired airs and paired waters. That's cool. Oh, I like that. Wait, is it calcifying and then reduplicating a water on the bottom?
Because symmetry.
Yeah, symmetric. It saves 30G to not do it, but symmetry is not to be avoided here. We have the budget. We will spend it on symmetry. God damn it.
30, 24, and 25. Okay. Alright. Next up, still at 52 cycles, but cheaper. 100, about 95 cost cheaper. This is also very similar method, except
One unification. It's got to be pumping this every 3 to get that cycle count. Yeah, it's pumping it every 3. This would be lower area symmetrically. Does Wishpush realize that if ARM 15 is down right from the output instead of do right from the output, it would be symmetric and lower area? Because everything's in the hex arm shadow anyway.
Right.
I mean, I love the solve. I just looked at that and now I can't unsee it.
Also, this is 2 arm on track. This is 3 arm on a loop.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. I like how the center is reused, though, so it has such that it has a rate.
That is true. It's making 2 inputs into 14 atoms as pairs, and then those pairs are fed in as fire-earth below and as air-water above. Except it switches. It becomes fire-earth above and air-water below. It actually switches. It has a seam, just like that really cool TI solve we saw. It had a seam.
Yeah.
I love when it doesn't matter that unification order.
Alright. Next up, 2 cycles faster. Ebonov.
Oh, we're catalyzing here. And then we're still only using 4 atoms per input. We're just kind of ignoring the Brillo. Oh, but this is actually achieving 2R in long, because it's grabbing inputs at full speed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're 2R. 2R is good. 2R is better than the 3Rs we've seen. It just also spends quite a while building those catalysts, and it's still wasteful, so if it's using catalysts, it could spend some of that time getting an extra pipeline, but not under budget.
Ebonov writes, a 4R pipeline costs too conveniently close to 500G, leaving 2 such pipelines in 900s. It's not quite clear how the rest of cost can make things faster, but a couple sad arms do help initialization. Another latency I can see is that separating salt and cardinal and breaking cardinal into 2 atom molecule can be done without handoff. However, this only makes sense on the slower pipeline, and my slower pipeline is too kinky to allow that swing. TC coded. Jemu says.
Yeah, using Brillo directly is kind of better. This has great rate, but it doesn't actually start pulling inputs until cycle 16.
Oh, yeah, right. Alright, next up. Oh, that's a drop. John
A
John.
drop.
Minus 7 cycles.
Oh wow. We went right through my first solution. Yeah, I think everything here's got to be 2R then. Yeah,
It
this is
seems
2R.
like it, yeah.
Wow, we're into the 2R zone already. Nothing used the 3R strategy that my first solve did.
Interesting. Oh yeah, also with waste chains.
Yeah, my first solve was a 49, but it was 3R on a single unification glyph with a hex arm grabbing input, and it was like under 600G. So I was like, well, that's too cheap. Got to find something faster. It's funny though, because 12th would still be like good for me for a placement for a metric I didn't care much about. But I guess I cared more about this one because I eventually tried to improve it. I love all the moving wheels. I love John's geometry solutions in the beginning, coloring everything.
Oh yeah, this is very slick method of doing that. Oh, and water is duplicated from the core on the top line, but is duplicated from the Berlo on the bottom line.
It's duplicated from the core, yay.
Alright. Next up. Crazybot 27. Much cheaper than... No, about 60 costs cheaper. Also a lot... no. I was looking at the wrong solve. Yeah, 100 costs cheaper than the previous solve.
Called Wow This Sucks. But it is 2R. 2R with 2 duplicators, or 2 unifiers, I mean. Catalyst. This is just getting the catalyst together so much faster than Ebanov's. It starts grabbing inputs on cycle 7 instead of cycle 16.
Probably because there's only one catalyst?
Yep. So even though the pipelines take a little bit longer to fill, it saves 9 cycles from Ebanov based on catalyst production, and then loses only 2 of them to the geometry that it incurs, which does come out to exactly 7 cycles faster than Ebanov. It's cool that that actually maths out.
Crazybot writes, as the title suggests, I'm not very happy with this solve. I wish it didn't make so much waste. Nearly half of the atoms pulled remain on the board at the victory screen. You can also tell from this solve that I'm still TC brained. I really need to stop procrastinating on the tourney puzzle by doing TC records. One thing I do like about this solve is the blueprinting. A trick I learned from week 1. Another is dumping waste into a hex arm instead of using a bonder, but I don't expect a very good placement with this. This week felt like a culmination of what I've learned so far. I had to use some techniques I learned from the previous puzzles, and steal some tricks from players better than me. Overall, this has been a really fun puzzle. Good luck to everyone as we head to the penultimate week.
The swings to avoid the catalyst in slow motion, you can see how close of a call they all are. That's really cool, actually. Catalyst dodge swings are really slick. I love Opus Magnum. I imagine we're seeing a pile up at 2R, and now it's a question of how much people are willing to spend on latency. And it's just pseudo 2R because eventually your waste catches up to you.
Yeah. Alright. Next up. Top 10. Mr. Puzzle. Still at 43 cycles, but this does... Okay,
Oh wow, we're slapping again.
yeah.
This slaps. Oh wow, it's able to get 2R with slapping.
Also, the fast water, it miraculously doesn't collide with the waste chain.
That swing is so cool. Wow. I like it. I also like that it's under budget. Slappy sticks tend to be expensive because of glyphs, but this one is only using what it needs to keep the stick together.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Next up, at 42 cycles, Fiesta. The ultimate question.
42. I like it. 2R again, under budget again. Oh, but this is using a lot more material per output. This is only discarding 1 atom per input.
Right.
Instead of 3. Which does mean that it actually takes a little while to get all the inputs in the pipes. So it is slower. It is slower on latency than its pipelining is coded for because it doesn't have to handle it doesn't have to handle massive waste. It just drops waste off as individual atoms.
How is this still faster than the previous one?
Because it's still operating at pseudo 2R, right? Or no, is it? It does have a little bit of a delay. It has a pseudo 2R, but then a 2-cycle delay after it's made 3 outputs from each unification.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, delay. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, wow, this is gobbling up quite a bit of latency from its waste handling. I wonder if that was under budget, and that there's so many duplicators. I think a lot of the budget spent on duplicators could have been spent preventing that latency. But then it wouldn't be 42. Spend less on duplicators. No.
Fiesta writes, solving this puzzle brought me all the way back to working on Nightmare Fuel. Not because of the difficulty, but because of the process. Here, as there, I am faced with a known minimum that I feel I cannot possibly hit. And so, instead of the usual theory-heavy backwards building of cycles, I went with the blissfully ignorant forward building approach. I made each stage as efficient as possible as I reached it and let the chips fall where they may in the result. That said, post facto, I was able to formulate some analysis. First of all, serving the unification glyph is horribly expensive. I had originally vaguely thought to use 3 unification stations, but ran out of gold before reaching that stage. I think better solves can manage it though by making better use of the input pools I have here. 4, however, will surprise me. Second, I had planned to use catalysts to duplicate in a faster and more geometry-friendly fashion on both sides. But I couldn't afford the arms for it, so everything works directly off Berlo. In retrospect, I think this was a good decision. The geometry challenges were not as bad as I feared. Finally, 7 is a super annoying number of atoms, requiring additional mechanisms or finicky program to neatly render into pairs or quads. My solution, waste the initially grabbed atom and work with much friendlier blocks of 6. Unfortunately, I don't feel like my forward first duct tape will place all that well. With 2 unifiers acting at P4, cycles count in the mid-30s should be achievable. To say nothing or better approaches that can fit in a third. Still, I enjoyed working on this. The mindset brought me back to a simpler time, where I understood less and discovered more. It was kinda nice. Thanks for the budget, Exton. Well, thank you for solving.
3 unifiers was like really tempting to try to fit, but I couldn't get it to work. But I could believe in it, just like Fiesta could believe in it. You might have to serve some of them with like hex arms on the side, which limits them to period 4. I don't know. I'll see it when I see it.
Yeah. I kind of haven't looked into the what was it? What the cycle solve? So I'm also like discovering, well, what discovering on the go. So
what you wrought on this community is still being learned as you see it.
Next up, Tweedledee says this metric is nothing. This wins by 5 cost? Okay.
Oh my god, it's still 42, but it's just slightly more under budget. Oh, I like it. I like it. This is a more classical R2 solve.
You're wasting 3 atoms per input.
Yeah, this has a lot in common with John John's of it's keeping the atoms intact while it puts them on Berlow. And then it's eventually breaking off the unification's worth of atoms. I can see shaving latency from here being the play for a while, but once we get to the podium, I would love to imagine there's a higher or a better rate.
All right, next up. Still at 42 cycles, JPIV.
Still at 42. Amazing. Jamu in chat just isn't believing it at all. But yeah, we are on that 2 unification glyphs period 4 hype, and lo, this is quite the waste chain. They eventually crash into each other, but not until after it's made more than 12, so this manages to be period 8. That's really cool. Jamu about to get her best placement of the tournament, better than her 5th place area.
All right. Next up. At there's no 41, 40, 30, 39, or 38.
It jumps to 37. Okay, poor Sergi D. Oh my god. 1000 G exactly at 37.
Yep.
All right. All right. That's quite the drop. And it's hilarious knowing that my solution is next. It's like there's not any budget for a 37 to not be me unless it's literally 1000. This has so much less duplication than mine, though.
All right.
It's really efficient. It's efficient on glyphs.
It is wasting 4 atoms per input. But there's this... like, this additional input supplies the missing 4th atom.
All right. Callie, if you're next, then how did you fit in that little gap between the costs? Are we tied? Are we literally tied? Are we area? What's the next tiebreaker after cost?
Area.
Oh, wow. What if Callie and I are separated by area?
Surgery writes.
37 was fun.
Surgery writes. I had the feeling Hexon had a gun to my head during the whole solving process. Don't you dare place an extra glyph or I'll pull the trigger. Buckles is taking cycles and removing all the fun. You can be cooking and realize in the end you don't have money for all the ingredients. I did not push the metric as far as I feared trying risky approaches that will lead to me being 10 gold above budget and scoring 0 points. Ironically, I got MG and up, so I'm fighting for 30 here. Dual 4-rate pipelines seemed a feasible approach, although using the first input just for air means additional 4 latency. This solution is quasi-symmetrical to reduce time spent iterating through the solution space. I am not confident, as I think low 30s are feasible within budget, but it requires a different approach involving at least one 3-rate pipeline or not using the first input just for air. All those attempts were barely above 1 kg, so probably Spiritual Shampoo has it? Jemu said they got min plus 2s, but I don't know what min they were referring to. Maybe having C plus G over 1000 would have been a better approach to budget, as it doesn't punish failed attempts that hard. I felt I was fighting against budget and cycles at the same time. CGA for this puzzle would have been as difficult but less painful to do. Apologies.
There's a lot of different opinions. Sergi is a very pushing kind of person here. He's hardworking.
Mm-hmm. Alright, next up. Beating this by, 37 area, Kelly races.
Whoa, okay, there's a second 1000 G. Oh my fucking god. I'm here in Bist's DMs where she had told me to increase my budget to 1000 G for giggles. That would have cost me 2 placements. My area is worse than both of them.
He writes, I didn't think too hard about latency, I just picked what I thought would be a decent rate and relatively easy to build. I looked at synthesis via alcohol CX for inspiration, which is 890 cost. CG is 860 cost but uses a body duping method that seemed hard to apply here. This puzzle would need a bit more work for waste management, so 2R with 2 pipelines seemed like a good target.
Convergent evolution.
Alright.
Yeah, alchemical slag strat is a definite improvement over having one input make one unifier. You have 2 inputs filling 2 unifiers alchemical slag style.
Alright, Piggy,
Chat's
you're next.
talking about the I'm fourth. I'm fourth.
Do you want to read your notes or should I read it?
I don't remember my notes. Oh, right. They were just talking about how I had something else that was 600G, but 49 cycles. This one uses 5 atoms from the bottom input and 3 from the top input. And it's sort of alchemical slag strat. I mean, between the 2 inputs, it has 2 of every color. It doesn't ever calcify or dupe into the water to save on duplicators. It spends all of its budget on track loops for latency, because I had a 38 that was 840G. I saved latency by adding a bunch of track loops to speed up the actual processing at the end here. So it used up the rest of the budget on track loops. Oh, I wasn't 995, I was 990. So yeah, Brett is correct in chat. If 37995 was submitted, which Kazian did have at one point, it would have also snuck in there. Yeah, this was a 38, and I managed to cut a latency from it at the cost of 150G. I think
Alright.
it's a lot lower latency at getting into the Burlow than some of the other solutions we've looked at, but then unifying is still painful because it has to scramble the inputs from two separate scramble the atoms from two separate inputs.
Yeah, this particular swing right here, it is.
Everything moves.
Yeah.
It's scrambling it all. It's trying, like, I looked at my atoms and thought, I can make these land on unification glyphs. I was aiming for 36, but as soon as I got up to 990 at 37, I was like, well, I can't get 36. Time to go to bed. Because I have to be up early. But yeah, when I was talking about having a large number of atoms bonded, it's just because I chose to do the waste via single arm and bonder rather than hex arm.
Uh-huh. Alright. Next up, third place. Spiritual shampoo. There's no notes as usual.
We hit 36, so even if I had managed to get down to 36, I wouldn't have beaten this one on placement. Unless I was way under budget. Spiritual Shampoo's huge track loop is actually really cool.
Huge track loops are
Jamu
useful
beats
for...
Shampoo on Buckles is quite the story. Oh, wow.
Huge track loops are good at doing multiple things with few latency, but then huge track loops are cost.
So we've got the slag track here. This is much more accurately a representation of slag than what I built. But now we got Kazian and Jamu.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think I stay ahead of Spiritual Shampoo on the global rankings, losing only one placement here and beating on TI. But
Alright.
Kazian is a story and Jamu is a story. Let's see it.
Kazian versus Jamu. Second place. Kazian.
Jamu winner.
Jamu wins,
Oh,
yes.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear that. Okay, Kazian is using the whose strat was this? The Sergi strat of having one atom off to the side.
Ah, alright.
And then it's wasteless beyond that center that it doesn't pull. Oh, this is clean.
Mm-hmm. He writes, pre-building is what when you throw a large rock across your transmutation engine. Congratulations to all who figured out how to do this with pseudo period 3 mechanisms instead of pseudo period 4 because I couldn't. Oh yeah, the ratio comes out really cleanly if you do this, and there's only a single atom of waste at the end.
Yeah, because 8 is one more than 7.
Yeah.
I happen to be a mathematician, so I can say such deep truths as that. I love that there are little clock instructions in the middle because of mods.
Alright. At long last, Jamu, one cycle faster.
She gets a 35 to win it. New solution 204. Wow, it is 2R.
Yep.
And it's a looping 2R. It doesn't have any catalyst, it doesn't have any super spicy stuff. It's just really well routed.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even do slag strats. It's one input for one unification. It just manages to get everything together, and it's 985G.
It just
I love
it just
the track
takes
loop.
up the diamond and then routes that just so quickly that it comes out one cycle faster than the previous ones.
No one was faster than 2R in the end.
Yep.
At least under budget. Maybe there are showcases that'll be lower cycles but over budget. But yeah, really well done, Jammu.
Yeah. Cool.
Sergi came to this same kind of solution but over budget. Jammu managed to get it down under 1,000.
Jammu sent me
Wow.
this exact solve, except with one arm more.
For 1,005 at 35. Oh my gosh.
Then she managed to remove that arm, resulting in this solve.
I remember her posting in Discord cursing the 1,000 metric. That must have been as she had a 1,005 at the cycle count. Oh my gosh.
That's when she cursed Critelli, yeah.
Curse you, Critelli.
Week 6, well, cycles, T. This puzzle was fun, had the idea of having some kind of batching, but the budget does not allow it. Prediction, 42nd place. Well.
So this is Pareto.
So yeah, that's all the scoring solves. And before you look at the showcases, I'm going to download the this week's puzzle.
I was wondering if you were saying, before we look at the showcase, here's 0th place by Shadow Cluster with 29. No, I was talking about it to my girlfriend when I had a 49 and thought I should be able to get under 40 though. And she was like, get 31. And certain numbers on this puzzle are terrifying to think about. That's kind of where it would land if it was a 1.5R though. And Callie was assuming 1.5R might be possible.
Wait a second. I should delete everything in the every save in the 10. Because I've already looked at some of the solves on week 7. Wait a sec. Okay, nothing is in there. Alright. Week 7. Pass through all the way. The lore is that this is the old material for... This is the classical formula for the proxy ARM materials. Which, as you might know, it can pass through each other. And the secret ingredient are quantum bonds, which is actually molecules without connecting bonds between them. The way quantum bonds work, you can make a new bond between the previously quantum bonded atoms. And also you can And when a molecule containing disjoint quantum entangled atoms has a d bond somewhere, then all the atoms that constitutes it, the bond network of the molecule gets recalculated, and the disjoint and the entangled atoms get disjoint. It gets fully disconnected from each other. Even
A
though
different way to say this is the game thinks that's one molecule, and it won't try to think otherwise until a D-bond is successful within that molecule.
Mhm.
It doesn't really care that there's a bond between them. The bond could be, if you have like 5 atoms all quantum bonded, there's no bond network. It's just, this is all one molecule until I have been told to think otherwise.
Mhm.
Does Bist have the spreadsheet together? She does. Kazian is still in first. I'm in fourth now. I passed Fiesta.
on the projection glyph, it works like usual. Yeah, only the debonder makes the molecule re-evaluate. So yeah, the metric is. So yeah, the metrics are area with tiebreakers cost and cycles, and rate with tiebreakers cost and area. Rate has to be manually verified. I have been dreading for this very exact reason. So yeah, good luck everyone and have fun. Alright. And then
So, just so everyone is aware, you can just write that your solution is min rate and then submit a cost solve. You'll win.
Alright. Now back to bulk transmutation. We are going to look at the showcase soaps now. I hope this. Okay. By Michira. Please show I spent so much time on this. Probably delay. Yosh, probably delays will be there as necessary. Probably. And next up, 42 Genius 42. Star Power. Demoted to Showcase, but this is just 5 cycles more than the best I could do using all the money for my actual 57 cycle submission. This one is far better value for money at just 600 cost. Who would have known Break Week would have been so useful? Might not be drawing the input too often, or be amazing for cycles, but still. I find it displeasing to watch. I mean, same.
It's funny because when we were looking at Genius to Solve, I was like picturing this perfectly based on the skeleton of what was in there. Like this was there. I could see it.
This is basically that solve except all the extra machinery removed.
I can post the GIF in the Discord for my 49.
JPIV. Whoops, wrong puzzle. Who says, blatantly stealing from waste reclamation for this. I can now see why the restrictions were added.
Oh, this is just using pentapigs. I love it.
Alright. Next up are Hello Jasper's coast-like solves. WG. The 7-to-4 ratio seems like really annoying for the coast-like solves because you have to put, because it is forces 7p.
Yeah, 4 inputs and 7 outputs per tape loop is a lot of work. I guess moving the input off of the glyph is the width limitation. And then after that, you just need debond or duplicator output and unification. You can serve this glyph in 3-track, but you can't access enough space to stay in width without a 4th.
Not even that, you can't output in width. I don't think you can output in.
Oh, you're right, because any rotation would bring you a 4th width.
Yeah. And next up, HG. And next up, TG. Next up, 42 Genius 42 again. He says, demoted to showcases more of an aesthetic solve than a hardcore cycle solve. It does look a bit like crossbow with bolts being loaded to me. Alright. And finally, Kazian. Disqualified.
Is this a TI solve? Oh no, what is this? Oh,
yeah.
1005G and not finite area.
Not finite area, yeah. He says, interestingly, for this week, it's possible to just solve the puzzle but not receive any points. This solution is designed to look a lot like what a frazzled student in over their head might create. It exceeds the cycle's budget and does not qualify for the metric, but it also has infinite area, so it is not nicely behaved enough for T+I.
What does it look like when you submit for the site and it has 0 metrics computed because it doesn't conform to either of them?
Probably
I'm really
like,
curious what the screenshot looks like on this.
Probably like what happens when you submit a overlap solve for a normal week.
Does not conform to the restrictions.
Yeah. Alright. That's all for the showcases. All right, and have fun with the pass-through alloy. I'll see you next week. And thanks, Biggie, for carrying the stream.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for fixing it all. Thank you for the puzzles as well.